Good morning, everyone. I'm Haibo. Before I became an artist or started my own brand, I was trained as an architect. And one thing that I learned from the architecture school is this. Before designing anything, you have to understand the clients first. How do they live? What do they need? What kind of lifestyle they're trying to build? But for many years of designing for anyone else, before I realized something uncomfortable, I never really asked myself those questions. I grew up in a very small village in southern China. By small village, I mean there were just rice fields everywhere around us. If we wanted to go to the nearest supermarket, it took almost 1 hour by car. And people around me didn't even speak standardized Mandarin. As a child, I used to think the entire world must be kind of the same as this. Until one day, I saw London on television. I remember hearing people speaking English and seeing completely different architectures and faces. I was shocked. And suddenly I realized maybe the world is much bigger than this hometown, and maybe there are other ways to live. That moment changed something inside me. I started to learn English by myself after that. Not because I had any big dreams or plans yet. At that age, I didn't even think it was even possible for someone like me to leave my hometown. Everyone around me kind of followed a quite fixed path. Go to school, find a stable job, get married, have children. That is the circle of life. My parents actually hoped I would go to a military school, become a soldier, and eventually find a stable government-related job. And honestly, I understand why. You know, when people grow up with very little, stability becomes the priority. But somehow, I said no to this fixed path and secretly spent so much time on the application documents and preparing the tuition fees for my education. And finally, after 2 years of preparation, I received the unconditional offer from one of the best architecture schools in the world, the Bartlett School of Architecture. For me, that already felt like a fantastic dream come true. I've got the opportunity to explore the city and learn from the school and the people around me, which helped me a lot to acquire the vision for life. Then, after graduation, I moved to Shanghai and worked as a professional architect. At first, I loved it so much because I genuinely believed good designs can improve people's lives. And I was lucky to be able to design for some top luxury brands and high net worth individuals. But slowly, the reality became different. Long nights became normal. And sometimes we had to work the whole night and went into direct client presentations in the morning without any sleep. People from different departments constantly changed their directions. So projects became endless modifications. And after years of this, I came to realize something painful. This job was becoming less about creativity, but more about office politics and physical endurance. Then my body finally forced me to stop. Because of long-term stress and lack of sleep, I developed shingles on my face. The pain became so intense that I couldn't sleep for days. But even then, my boss didn't want me to take leave, and I was expected to wear some makeup and work as usual and do client presentations. I remember sitting in the hospital finally. The doctor was telling me, if you come here 1 day later, it could be very dangerous for your whole nerve system. You could get paralyzed or you could die from this. Suddenly, I realized to the company, I was just a tool, another replaceable piece in the system. But to myself, this is my only life. That moment woke me up. So I quit my job after 7 good years in the industry. Not because I was confident. Actually, I was terrified. I had no stable income, no fancy job titles anymore, and no clear future plans. And many people around me thought I was making a huge mistake because at that time, I was already the youngest design director who will soon be a vice president in the company. And honestly, sometimes I thought so as well. But after leaving my last job, I went to a temple in the mountain of Huangshan. There we had to hand in our phones and follow a strict rule called silent retreat. So no talking, no eye contacts whenever possible. Just light up an incense stick and do breathing meditations from the mornings to the evenings. At first, it felt so unbearable because for the first time in years, there was no voice from outside, no notifications, no deadlines, no external validations, just pure silence. But somehow in that silence, I started to hear something very quiet, the voice from my heart, which greatly changed my life directions later on. And during that meditation trip, there was one phrase that I remember the most, 本自具足, which roughly means we already contain everything we need. At first, I didn't believe it. How is that even possible? But when I look back at my own life, a boy from a small village in Hunan somehow made it to the world capital, London, then moved to the most exciting city in China, which is Shanghai, and worked for some top clients. If you ever showed this future to my younger self, he would never believe it was even possible. So maybe human potential is much larger than we think. And maybe many of our limits are from ourselves, not reality. After returning to Shanghai from the temple, my life became much more uncertain because I'm earning much less money than before, and I constantly questioned if I had ruined my career. But during that time, I tried to do something I was super passionate when I was younger, which is taking portraits. At first, mainly self-portraits as a practice. Because when I was growing up, I was extremely skinny and I got bullied a lot. So I hated my body and face for a long time, and I hated to take photos of me. But somehow, photography became a strange way of self-expression and learning how to accept myself as what I am. Then eventually, I took portraits for over 100 people from different countries and different backgrounds. I've collected so many wonderful, touching, and empowering life stories along the way. And one of the most important shoots I've ever done was with my mom. She has never done any professional photo shoot before, not even wedding photos. So when I first invited her, she refused immediately. She said, I'm too ugly. I'll embarrass you. I'll lower the quality of your work. So I lied to her. I was telling her, no. I just need a middle-aged female model just like you. So during the photo shoots, she kept trying to hide herself from the camera. And instead of directing her too much, I just kept talking to her casually while quietly taking the photos. That night, I edited the images and showed her. And suddenly, she started to cry and laugh at the same time. She said, I never know that I could look this beautiful. And then she joked, I even look a little bit like Fan Bingbing, no? We both laughed. But after this photo shoot, something in real life started to change. She finally replaced her White Lotus WeChat profile picture with the portrait I took for her. And her friends gave her a lot of compliments. And over time, I could feel her becoming a more confident person. Later, she even came to Shanghai twice and paid me to photograph for her again. And honestly, every time I could see more of her in her eyes. That was the moment I realized a photograph can be just a good-looking image, or it can become a solid artwork for someone to see themselves more positively. That experience eventually led to my solo art exhibition called 宽肩. In Chinese, it means wide shoulders. And in English, it's called Empower. The title actually came from one of the self-portraits I once took. One day after work, I went home, using some black fabric and random objects, and created this image, where my shoulders look unusually broad and strong. And when I look at that photo, I suddenly felt something I've never felt before. I feel like I've become my own protector and a source of safety. So white shoulder somehow became a symbol for me. Not perfection, not masculinity, but the ability to accept all parts of me. My insecurity, my fear, my ambition, my creativity, and my dreams, without rejecting any of them. But honestly, organizing that exhibition was brutal. No friends or family supported this idea at first because it required most of my personal savings from working hard as an architect for years. And the economy was bad, so I wanted the exhibition to be totally free to the public. So no ticket sales, no guaranteed profit at all. Many people think I was being unrealistic. And during the setup, everything went wrong. The supplier suddenly raised the price, and the equipment was broken during the moving. At one point, part of the wall literally peeled off after removing the text stickers. I remember standing there thinking, oh my God, this exhibition is gonna collapse before it even opens. But somehow, I kept it going and tried everything I could to fix it. And on the opening day, when I saw my self-portraits displayed on the giant screens and flags on Western Nanjing Road, a place usually reserved for the luxury brands like Chanel or Prada, I cried. Because for 1 second, the small boy from the remote village in Hunan felt seen by the whole world. And the opening night was such a blast. So many friends, designers, artists, and government representatives and my mom came to support. I felt like a shining star on that night. But strangely, the next day was such a huge contrast. The exhibition finally opened to the public, but only a few dozen people came to visit, as most of them are just passing by. I remember standing there thinking, oh, I think I made a terrible and expensive mistake. But slowly, over the next few days, more and more people are coming to visit because the media exposure takes time to reach to the right audience. And actually, what moved me most was seeing people getting touched by the stories I was trying to tell. And some females are crying quietly while reading the stories from the exhibition because they realized their anxieties, loneliness, or insecurities were never alone. They were not broken. They were just humans having human feelings. And feelings will come and go as long as you don't get stuck in it. So yes, in the end, the exhibition was recommended by so many friends, influencers, and power media houses like Vogue, Elle, Cosmo, and it reached over 1.5 million views online and offline. And people started to call it a success. And after that, I felt really grateful for the meditation times with the incense at the temple. So I established my own brand called Li Zhong to encourage more people to live mindfully through the beauty of Chinese incense culture and aromatherapy. And meanwhile, I created abstract art paintings inspired by the breathing practice I did at the temple, which is very minimal and timeless. Now I'm preparing for a new exhibition later this year, which I know is gonna be another big challenge for me. And if you ask me now, are you a completely confident person or very certain about your future? The answer is no. I still feel anxious sometimes. I still question if I made the best choice, and I still don't know where my life is leading me to. But maybe that is the beauty of life. I used to think successful people must have everything figured out. But now I just think they are just becoming more willing to trust themselves through uncertainties. Designing your future doesn't mean having a perfect blueprint right from the beginning. Maybe it means having the courage to keep redesigning your life as you grow. So here's one thing I hope you can take away from my story today. You don't need to have your entire future planned right now. But whenever possible, try different things that genuinely make you feel passionate about. Listen to your own voice, and please do not spend your whole life living inside someone else's blueprint. You can design your own future. Thank you.